Hey, webheads, welcome to the Amazing Spider-Man podcast. Yes, we are not an Amazing Spider-Man podcast. We are the Amazing Spider-Man podcast. Yes, I realize I've unfortunately used that introduction for about the past 7 or 8 episodes. I'm not quite sure. I got a C- in trig, so I'm not very good at math. But I guess I've evidently used that intro a lot. I will try to come up with something more clever for next week. But I also told myself that I was going to do that for this week, and that did not happen. So we'll see how reliable I am. But joining me today for the panel, we have Mr. Jacob Blowbomb. How's it going, Jacob?
Oh, it's going great. How's it going? How you?
I just got up, and it's 3:08 in the afternoon here in Eastern Standard Time.
Well, here in the real time zone where it's 2:08.
Aren't you special?
Yeah, it's 2:08 here too.
It is for me.
Man, I hate you all. I'm an hour ahead of you.
Central time.
Does that technically mean I'm in the future?
Yeah.
No, you're in the past.
Kind of.
Yeah, you're in the future, yeah.
Yes, okay. I'm back to the future, 88 miles an hour.
That's why I love talking to my Japanese friends around New Year. Because it's like literally for one day they're a year in the future.
That's actually really cool. Okay, you heard 2 guys, disagreeing with me or whatever. I don't even know. James Markin, how's it going, James?
Wait, aren't we talking about Ultimate Spider-Man? No, guys, hi, this is James. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing well, considering that nothing has happened today yet because I just got up.
Yeah, I know. 2:09 now, bitch.
Yes, that is James Powerpacker 90 on every other website he's on. Yeah, and I don't think I have anything else to say about him. So, Mr. Jan Allen, how's it going, Jan?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, as we've established 3 times by now. So, yeah, this is going great already. But I think we have a little bit of housekeeping that we need to get out of the way first before we tackle Spider News. These 3 guys right here have decided to rebel against me and start their own podcast, which is, I don't know if it's depressing or good for them.
All in your honor.
Yeah.
We refer to this as the main podcast, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah, that's what we on the show.
Your show is the main show. You're the Happy Days. We're the Joni Loves Chachi.
I don't understand that reference, so I'm just gonna move on.
This podcast is Friends, and our podcast is Joey.
Again, I don't understand the reference.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Fuck.
Our podcast is Your podcast is How I Met Your Mother. Our podcast is How I Met Your Father.
Okay, that reference I understand. Okay, here we go. Here, I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, these guys over here have decided to start an Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, not a cartoon podcast, thankfully, because no one would listen to it. But that's not an insult towards you. It's just I try to block out that show even exists, which means I'd have to block out any podcasts that's centered around it. But they've decided to start a podcast around the Ultimate Spider-Man comic book. Yes, they're going to be covering pretty much every issue of Ultimate Spider-Man from its beginning. From when did it start? 2000? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, year 2000.
Year 2000 with Brian Michael Bendis, Ultimate Spider-Man #1, the first comic to ever be published from the Ultimate Universe. So that's pretty cool, and these guys, they're really excited about the podcast. I think they've got 2 episodes recorded already.
Yeah.
I just have to put them up on the feed as soon as James sends them to me.
I'll do them to you tonight, okay, man?
Yes. You might have to do it through Google Drive, but whatever.
I'm cool with that.
Okay. And yeah, so anything anyone wants to say about the show? I'm pretty sure James is the host of it. I haven't actually listened to it. So James, what do you want to say about the show?
Well, I don't think there actually is a host. I think it's like a collaborated effort there. Yeah. Like everybody just talks when they want to talk. But Yeah, it's a pretty good show. I think we got great guys. Like we get along well, and we like talking about Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, and we kind of go each episode. We do an arc. We like volume 1, volume 2, or whatever. So
yes, they seem to not be doing individual issues as much, which
nothing happens in one issue of Ultimate.
Yeah, I'm going to say is probably the better approach because it's Brian Michael Bendis' stuff has always read better in trade, and so that's what they seem to be covering, so that's probably a good idea on their part.
I think that's the mindset of it, right, guys, is that it's Bendis kind of writes for the trade, so we do our podcast in the trade.
Yeah.
Except for like a year or two from now, and we're going to have to start doing single issues. Or the podcast once every like 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if this podcast is still going in a year or two from now.
I'm being optimistic, John.
I'm being realistic. I'm being realistic. I was optimistic for a good portion of my life. Look where it got me. So
Spider-Man podcast, wow.
No,
yeah.
I'm actually talking about something else in my life. I was talking about my high school career. But
Fuck
yes,
high school.
Yeah. High school.
Take
flows.
me and Jacob's word for it. It's everybody's high school life.
Yeah, high school blows. I hate high school, but I'm a senior now, so I'm awesome.
I was a senior 4 years ago. Guess how shitty that makes me feel.
I will be a senior in 1 year.
I was a senior 5 years ago. God, I remember that. You guys weren't even in high school when I was a senior. That scares me.
I was.
I could do the math on that, figure out what grade I was in, but I'm not going to because I just woke up. Spider News topics, tackling them very quickly as I open up Firefox here, because Google Chrome has decided it's not going to work today, so I'm forced to use Firefox, which is, as we all know, inferior to Google Chrome. Yes, now give me free Google Drive space for at least a year, Google. Because I just gave you a plug there. But, our first Spider News topic of the day is one that actually caused a bit of controversy. And it is this. The Spider-Man sculpture in Korea has an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Eccentricity?
Retarded.
That's a boner.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. I was going to do an awesome lead into it, and you just destroyed it.
John wants to talk about this topic. I think that's why he said it. He just wants to say it has a boner. Moving on.
Yeah, we don't really like this topic. In fact, I was begged to not put this topic on the show. But since it's actually news, and we are, kind of a legitimate news podcast for about 20 minutes a week, we try to cover what Spider News there is. And this is news. So, there is a Spider-Man sculpture with a very protruding groin area. I'm trying to get around using the word I don't want to use. But what do we think of this sculpture?
It's really stupid. Let's not talk about it.
Well, I don't understand the sculptor's thought process behind giving him a erect member. I think.
That's hilarious.
And we all became 6 years old again. Hello.
No.
Welcome to the Amazing Spider-Man podcast.
No, see, what we're laughing at is the fact that we're all scared to use the word.
Fuck it, boner.
I feel like I should just insert that segment from Tosh.0. I should just splice it in the middle of the podcast. Boner, 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 boner. Okay,
One word, lame. Okay, I'm done with the topic.
Yeah, I agree with James.
Oh my god.
I was trying to have like a conversation about why the sculptor thought it was okay to give Spider-Man a boner, but no, I guess not. Fuck me.
Yeah, we're all... None of us really have anything to say about this topic because we're just so taken aback by its stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
And its existence.
Yeah.
And the fact that the sculptor... I mean, I don't know who the sculptor was that sculpted this this wonderful piece of art here, but you know, I read a statement from him that says, "Oh, you know, I've learned my lesson. I won't do this again next time." And I just thought to myself, "What next time? You're not gonna have a next time, bro. After what you did here."
Can Marvel sue him for that? He used Spider-Man's likeness.
Honestly, Marvel would sue him for probably thinking the wrong thing about Spider-Man. So,
No, he did.
I'd say they probably could sue him, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. We need to get a lawyer on this show, but yeah, I'm not a lawyer. Neither is anyone in my family, so which is kind of lame, because like every family I know has a lawyer in it except for mine, which is
Nobody in my family is a lawyer, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, nobody in my family here.
okay, good, because I was actually getting kind of depressed there for a second. Okay, yes, we're beating around the bush with this topic because
Oh God.
I didn't even think of it like that. Oh my gosh.
Come on. All right, let's move on. This is stupid. The statue kind of speaks for itself. Like, let's talk about something else.
No more boners.
This ain't a Batman podcast.
Oh my gosh. Okay. See, when I said that, I wasn't even trying to be dirty, but then James decided to take it in the dirty direction. So
I thought it was dirty when he said it. I was like,
I didn't.
I didn't take it in a dirty way until James was like, "Oh God."
Okay. Now that my day has just been made. So yeah, this Spider-Man sculpture in Korea, we're all kind of taken aback by it. We have no words for it. This is stupid. The artist really deserves to be locked up for eternity in a mental facility. So moving off of that topic, we got a possible rumor about the Amazing Spider-Man 3. According to Collider, which I don't know how legitimate of a source they are, but seeing as I've seen this on many other websites since they reported this, it's possible that this could be true, or could actually be a legitimate thing. But there is a rumor revolving around the Amazing Spider-Man 3, and that it could be pushed back to 2017. And Sony has not released any official statements on this. Neither has Mark Webb or anyone involved with the film. So we don't know if this is true. We want to stress this is a rumor at this point. But right now, it seems that Amazing Spider-Man 3 could be being pushed back a year. Thoughts?
I'll be very sad.
Yeah, I'd be kind of sad too. But you know what? If they need to push it back to make the best possible movie that they could, then yeah, I'll go for it, I guess.
Kind of like Batman versus Superman.
Except Batman versus Superman is going to suck. And
No.
No.
You take that back.
Yeah. Did you hear that? That's all the DC Comics fans turning this podcast off.
Bye.
No.
I don't like.
Batman is awesome. I love Batman. Batman rules. Okay, I just say them.
Okay.
I love Batman too.
I love both Batman and Superman. So
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm not going to say what I was just going to say because I'm pretty sure I'd lose like all the fans on this show, not just the DC ones. Yeah, like we have fans already. But here's my thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man 3 being pushed back to 2017. I don't care. Like, really, I don't care. We just got 2. You know, I'm trying to enjoy number 2 right now. I'm not really that concerned about the sequel right now. And really, here's the thing. If it's pushed back to 2017, I don't care. I don't care because the movie already was 2 years away. Pushing it 3 years away just gives me even more reason to not care about it. Why? Because I don't really get excited for stuff that's 2-3 years away. Because, there are other things to be excited about right now.
John, can I say something really quick?
Okay.
Okay. I think maybe part of the reason that some of us are so excited for Part 3 already is that Part 2 really set up a lot of big things to happen in Part 3 with the Sinister Six and all that. So, in a way, the way that movie ended, I think it just kind of has, almost feels like it really will lead heavily into the third one. So that's, I think, the only reason why.
Yeah, because like the one criticism I will always agree with people for the new movie is that it did feel like it was a 2-hour trailer for 3.
I disagree with that. I think some of it didn't feel like a trailer, but I feel like the last 10 minutes feel like a trailer for 3. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I really like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I saw it 7 times in the theater, which is
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably insane.
You must have loved it, didn't you?
Well, it was Spider-Man on the big screen. What more could I ask for?
No, I love Spider-Man. I loved it too, so I'm not judging you or anything. But
I mean, I give the film probably a B+, A-. It's not a bad film. I don't think it's a bad film at all. Yeah, it has flaws, but I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be.
I give it. Sorry, go ahead.
Some people are treating this movie like it's the worst thing since Spider-Man 3. That is not true.
No, it's not.
Well, there is some similarities, like you have Harry Osborn as a villain,
but I think it's like Spider-Man 3 done right. I think that's how I think of it.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man 3 as good as they can make a Spider-Man 3 the way they did it.
And can I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a movie that you'd almost have, for me, a critical grade would probably be an A-, but how much I enjoyed it is much higher.
I agree.
And the way I feel about it being pushed back, I don't think that that's really not too much of a big deal because people are going, oh my god, it got pushed back for 3 years. It must mean that they really don't want a sequel. The original trilogy went 2002, 2004, 2007, and then it was 2012 with the reboot. So there have been long stretches before between Spider-Man movies.
And really, the stretch between Spider-Man 3 and the reboot probably should have been longer, but we know why it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because Sony had to keep the rights to Spider-Man because Spider-Man's the only thing Sony has right now.
I still got a great movie out of that, so I'm not going to complain about
The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is probably the best Spider-Man movie we've gotten, in my opinion.
I don't know if I'd say that.
October of 1991 is when Stan Lee in Issues of Spider-Man announced the movie. 91. 2002 is when it came out. That was a longer waiting period than this 3 years is going to be for people. So calm down. It's not super long, people.
And really, I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 being pushed back to 2017, you know what? If this is going to increase quality of the movie, do we really have a right to complain?
No, we don't.
Because, I mean, a lot of people complaining about 2 are now saying, oh, I can't believe they're pushing 3 back. It's like, what? Oh my gosh. I
just want to say something real quickly. For the people who are saying that this is worse than Batman and Robin, please rewatch both movies.
Yeah, seriously, Batman and Robin versus this, I'd take this any day.
There's people saying that?
I saw this on a few message boards and stuff like that, where there have been people on comments and stuff like that say Batman and Robin was a better movie than this, and that was just because it was Batman.
Dude, I'm gonna piss everybody off. I would go as far as to say that I prefer Amazing Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man 2. That was literally a lot of twos in that sentence. But
well, see, here's the thing. I just said Amazing Spider-Man 1's better than Spider-man 2.
In my opinion, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my favorite.
Yeah, I like Spider-Man 2.
I love Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is a freaking good movie.
I think all of them except for 3 are good movies.
That train sequence.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, that train.
I'm not saying that
go.
I'm just saying that in my opinion, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the one that I would watch. Like that's my favorite. That's the one that I would watch over the others.
I mean, I got the director's cut, the 2.1.
Yeah.
And it's just as good as the original.
Oh, it's better than the original, buddy.
My only problem with part 2 is I hate Mary Jane, and I think it's drags a little bit in the middle. But other than that, it's pretty much perfect.
Yeah, what was that?
It sounded like someone just got their email or something.
Oh, yeah, that was an iPhone email noise
that I could do.
Yeah. Yeah. But any final thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man 3 being pushed back to 2017?
If it means we're going to get a better final product, then I'm cool with it.
Same Z's.
All right. That's an interesting word.
No, I agree with these guys.
I have a friend that says Z's at the end of like every word. He's always like, same Z's or something like that.
All right, moving on to, I guess, some more positive news, I guess. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has finally topped $700 million worldwide. And I wrote an article on this yesterday. I'm assuming June 15th was yesterday. What's today?
It was yesterday.
Okay, yes.
I'm looking at it right now.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 finally managed to gross over $700 million at the worldwide box office. Now, while this is a great feat, the film has still not managed to outgross Captain America the Winter Soldier, and currently X-Men Days of Future Past is kicking its ass at the box office. And it also remains the lowest grossing Spider-Man film to date. So, I mean, it's great that it's, that it's topped $700 million worldwide, but I'm pretty sure Sony's still not happy with that. Can
I talk about this briefly?
Yes.
I think, I don't know. I think maybe, it's really weird because I think it's so strange that, we're thinking of, such a great number as kind of not a failure, but certainly not quite what Sony wanted. It still has, I think, every Spider-Man movie has made more than $700 million, so it's, at least, I think the first movie made like $750 million worldwide, so it's not made as much as the first, so it is the least grossing. But I think if you try to act like the gross is indicative of the quality, then you'd be saying that Spider-Man 3 is the best of them because that's the highest grossing one. So.
Well, we're not really saying that. What we're really saying here is just that, I mean, a lot of people are saying that this is because audiences are starting to get fatigued of Spider-Man movies, which I could honestly understand that. We've had 5 Spider-Man movies in the last 12 years. I can kind of see where they're coming from with that. Also, some people are saying that, maybe this reboot franchise isn't appealing to people, or, just stuff like that. There are many theories as to why this is, but this also kind of ties into our previous story of why they may be pushing Amazing Spider-Man 3 back. Maybe they're trying to sort of rework their plans for a Spider-Man universe now that this film clearly hasn't done what they wanted it to.
Yeah. I also think...
I was going to say real quickly, $700 million is not, small chunk of change. I think we would all want $700 million in our lifetime, but I can still see why, as a movie studio, if that's not the highest grossing movie of your franchise, you're going to want to do something different to make it,
Yeah.
And it's just, I agree with him with the whole Spider-Man fatigue, but I think it's a whole superhero fatigue. I mean, think about it. Every month now, there's a new superhero movie coming out. Whether based on a comic book, a TV show, just a regular character, a comic book that was really indie and only a few fans would know. There are movies coming out constantly now based on comic books. So I think it could be just like general populace is just getting a little bit, fatigued of superhero after superhero after superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we take bets how long before we get a White Rabbit movie?
Oh, God.
Because that's literally with the Power Ranger fandom, one of the biggest fears about the new movie is that the superhero fatigue is almost setting in now. And now it's like, what? By the time that movie comes out, we don't want it to be like the '90s Power Ranger movies where they didn't make money because superhero movies were like dead.
I think. See, I don't think John said that there were some people who are thinking that people just hate the reboots or whatever. I actually don't think that's true because I want to say like every single person that I know that's seen that movie, except for one guy who told me he just didn't like Spider-Man in general. Every single person that's seen the movie that I know liked it. So I think, especially in my high school, people were, because people kind of know I'm like the Spider-Man guy. So one kid, asked me if I, what I thought of it, and I said I really liked it, and he said that he preferred the new ones to the old ones and all that. So actually, I think it's just superhero fatigue in general. There's so many of these movies, and they're all starting to like cannibalize each other. Like it's crazy. Like we're getting X-Men and Captain America and Spider-Man so close together that people aren't gonna want to see every superhero movie that comes out. They're gonna pick one. So Spider-Man is the novelty, I think, for Spider-Man in film has worn off because back in 2002 it was the super famous character having his first big screen movie and everyone was so excited about it, and by now
it's
we don't
like
see
what? It's like, okay, new Spider-Man.
Yeah, okay, new Spider-Man. Yeah. So.
But the sad thing is, if Sony's going to make Spider-Man movies, they're going to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Fox and the X-Men. They're going to have to constantly make movie, reboot, because they want to keep the rights.
Honestly, I've yet to see a Spider-Man story except for like One More Day that I haven't found something to enjoy. So as long as they're okay movies, then I won't have a problem with it. But, so yeah,
that's awesome. I'm not saying that $700 million is something to laugh at because, I mean, come on. I would love to have $700 million. I mean, I would be set for life. I'm pretty sure I could get Kate Upton to marry me at that point.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I know. That's a... yeah, I know. That's not going to happen.
That chick from Transformers, John.
Kate Upton was just the first one that came to my mind. All right, what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, this movie here making money. But yeah, you know what? It is kind of sad that this film is not performing the way Sony wanted it to, because it is so evident that Sony was desperate to make this the biggest, most amazing Spider-Man movie ever. I mean, you could smell the desperation with all of the trailers and all of this promotional material. That's probably what screwed them over, is that they showed too much.
I think they did. Actually, that adds to my point. I think if Sony is rethinking their plan, one thing they need to do is cut it on the marketing, because I think it would have been so cool if we didn't even know that Harry was going to become the Green Goblin at all. Like, we didn't even see any stuff with the Goblin. Like, we just went in the movie and that was, something we didn't even see coming. That would have been awesome, but they had to spoil it in all the trailers and stuff. So
I can tell you right now, the marketing for this film was way overdone, and it could be what screwed them over. It really could be, but
yes.
It's just, you could smell the desperation with these guys for this movie to make money. And, now that it's not doing what they thought it would and what they wanted it to, I can kind of see maybe why they're pushing back 3 and trying to rework their plans. I mean, the Venom and Sinister Six spin-off movies, I mean, I haven't stated this on the podcast because I've tried to be optimistic about this, but am I the only one who's honestly questioning whether we'll ever see those movies come to the screen?
No, I think they'll happen.
I don't know. I really don't know. But
dude, you don't want Harry Osborn the movie? Like, that's, I think, what Sinister Six is going to end up being.
I really don't know if those movies will ever, see the light of day. But
I'm sure they will. I mean, in like 2 years when they never come out, I'll look like an idiot, but I bet that they will.
I'm not going to say they will or they won't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. I really wouldn't be. But any final thoughts on the Amazing Spider-Man 2 topping $700 million?
I don't know. It's good that it made as much money. I mean, it's good that it wasn't a complete flop, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a complete flop. I mean, $700 million is nothing to laugh at, but
It wasn't a flop at all. It was just kind of a slight disappointment.
yeah, it's not what Sony wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sony wanted Batman.
Yes, Sony wanted the Avengers. I mean, Sony wanted the Avengers, and that's not realistic. I'm sorry. The Avengers is going to be like a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Well, 3 in a lifetime thing, probably.
Well, yeah, probably, but I honestly doubt the second one will make as much as the first.
Yeah, dude, Iron Man 3 made tons of money. It'll make...
And that movie sucked.
What?
That movie sucked.
Yeah, kind of did. But
I actually liked Iron Man 3.
I loved Iron Man 3.
I hated it.
I didn't hate it. I think it could have been better.
You'll never see me coming.
Yeah, because he's not in the friggin' movie. Rip off.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like it. The whole Mandarin thing just bummed me out.
He is in the movie because the guy who directed the movie said, if you notice, the main villain at the end, he has a dragon tattoo on him, which is similar to what Mandarin had in the comics. So he's actually the Mandarin. He was just using the other guy as like a figurehead, like a scapegoat.
No, it's actually not, because there's a on the Thor DVD they have those short films, which are canon. They've confirmed that they are. And there's one about that guy in prison, the fake Mandarin guy, and a servant of the real Mandarin visits him and says, "My boss, is pissed off that you use my name. He wants to have a talk with you." So the real Mandarin exists. So that guy wasn't the Mandarin either. So the Mandarin isn't in the movie.
I feel like that was just because of fan outcry that
they were like,
that.
"Sorry, fans." That was like apologizing.
Sorry, fans. We messed up. Here you go.
Yeah, initially I was pissed off about that, but this isn't an Iron Man 3 podcast.
No. So I think we all kind of agree on this, on the Amazing Spider-Man 2 box office. So
Okay. Tackling reviews now, because that is the last Spider News topic. So we got one current issue to go over today and 3 classic issues. Amazing Spider-Man number 1.2, or Learning to Crawl number 2, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this came out last week. And yes, for anyone who hasn't figured it out by this point, we are actually recording this on Monday the 16th. Because we've had a lot of problems this weekend with recording shit. So yeah, this is our
And I'm dumb.
Yeah, this is our ultimate try. I'm
broke, so I haven't picked this up yet, and so just skip me in the whole review part.
Okay. Good. At least you told me. because now I won't have to go, Jacob, thoughts and grade, and he'll be like, poop. Okay. Here we go. Amazing Spider-Man Learning to Crawl number 2, basic synopsis. Clash is trying to get Spider-Man to notice him. Meanwhile, Peter Parker is trying to get acquainted with some people at school, so he joins the AV Club. Basically, this takes place around the events of Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Amazing Spider-Man number 1 from 1963, not the shitty one that just came out at the end of April. And all the while, Spider-Man gets set up to fight Clash, which doesn't really go well for Clash, and he leaves kind of heartbroken, I guess you could say, because Spider-Man really didn't care about him. And yeah, that's basically the issue. I'm flipping through it right now, and there's not a whole lot to talk about. I'll go first with thoughts and grade on this. I'll give my grade first. I gave it a C+. I didn't feel that this issue was as amazing as the previous issue. I felt that a lot of it was, well, not really a lot of it, but some of it was subpar. Particularly the character of Clash. I said this in my review, and I'll say it again here. He's the same guy that Jamie Foxx was in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I don't need to see two so similar characters so close to each other. I'm sorry, I don't need it. I wish they'd made this character somebody else. I wish they'd given him some sort of a different motivation, a different personality, because it's literally like they took Electro off the screen of Amazing Spider-Man 2, put him on the pages of this comic, but just changed his look. Well, and his race. But seriously, I don't like it. I don't like the character of Clash because I've seen it literally so recently that it's honestly stale at this point. But the other big con I had with this issue was that I'm really not sure when this issue is supposed to take place, because the creators of this miniseries have gone out of their way to say that this is early on in Spider-Man's career. But, yeah, there are laptops and websites and computers and iPhones in this issue. What the hell? They did not have those during the time of Amazing Spider-Man #1. Now, yes, I realize Marvel has a sliding time scale and blah, 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 blah. You could write a whole college thesis on that freaking thing, but I'm just going to say this right now. I didn't care for the fact that I don't know when this was supposed to take place. But pros for the issue, Slott really did succeed in trying to tie all of this extra material into the existing continuity that already predated it. He did a very nice job with that. He managed to weave it all into continuity very well, and actually, I don't think there was a single continuity error in this issue, so I do have to commend Slott for that. Also, I love Peter's portrayal all throughout this story. It was very, very good. He was in character probably 95% of the time, which is, I mean, it's not a good thing that I have to point that out as a pro, but, I felt he was written pretty well throughout most of this issue, so overall, I give this one a C+. I felt its pros and cons kind of cancel each other out a bit. I give it a C+. It was a decent issue, but not anything special. So who else has read this issue? I don't remember.
Me.
I have.
Okay, James, you go first. Thoughts and grade on Learning to Crawl #2?
Well, like I said, I like the continuity. It really fits well. I mean, you brought up things about cell phones and laptops, but the sliding time scale kind of takes care of that. I agree that the villain is very similar to Electro, but I don't think that's really can be taken as a really bad negative because it is movie time and everybody's doing that. So I can see why they did that. They're drawing the movie people, and I think all in all it was a great story. Really fun, really interesting. I want to see what happens more with this Clash guy, and if maybe we'll see him now in Amazing.
I think we will. They said that he will show up in Amazing.
All right, what's your grade, James?
Oh yeah, I would give it like a B.
All right, Jan, thoughts and grade?
I actually really enjoyed this. I can't remember what my grade is. Hold on a second.
He's got notes. He's prepared.
I gave it a B+. I liked it quite a bit. I think I agree with James. The sliding time scale thing explains that. Basically, if the listeners don't know what we're talking about, it's the idea that there's like a time span of maybe 15, I think it is like 13 years between Amazing Fantasy 15 and the current issues. But exactly where those 15 years are taking place is, depends on what time the issue came out. So now we're assuming that this Spider-Man's origin takes place in 2001. So that's why I'm not bothered by the laptops and whatnot in there, because I'm just assuming that, we're assuming that this is in 2001-ish, around that time. The Clash character, I actually am kind of digging. I think his costume is really cool. I like the sound gimmick. That's something I don't think we've seen before in Spider-Man. And if it is, the character is so obscure that I can't remember it very well. I think I like how Clash is kind of like a darker reflection of Peter Parker in a lot of ways. They have the similar costume. He is they're both really smart kids. But Peter Parker, doesn't have a lot of money, but makes up for that with having, a huge conscience. And this Clash kid doesn't seem to have like a very good conscience, but he's rich. So I think there's some interesting stuff going on there. And I love all the continuity stuff. I love how tightly it ties into Amazing Spider-Man #1. So I give it a B+. I quite enjoyed it.
All right, and Jacob did not read this issue, so
My bad.
no, it's fine. You're broke. Money problems. That damn economy.
Yeah. And I'm going out of town tomorrow.
Freaking government,
All that stuff.
All right. But I guess now we can move on to the classic issue reviews. I have one more thing to say about Learning to Crawl. I find it ironic that I'm the biggest fan of the supposed era when this is taking place, yet I gave it the lowest grade.
That is funny.
I find
I like the ghost stuff.
What?
I like the Ditko stuff.
I know. Well, I know, but I'm probably the biggest fan of it here, and I gave it the lowest grade. So I just find that ironic. But yeah, now I guess we can move on to our classic issue reviews. Yes, now we have. I forgot to point this out last week, but seeing as we hit issue number 50, we're treading a ground that Amazing Spider-Man Classics never did. So, yay for us. We managed to outlive Amazing Spider-Man Classics in terms of how many issues we cover. So I guess that's a good thing, maybe. Or it could be a bad thing in meaning that we have nothing better to do during the week than talk about classic Spider-Man issues that came out 50 years ago. Moving on. Yes, James would like to break down Amazing Spider-Man number 50, so I'm going to allow him to do that. Take it away, James.
Okay, our issue begins with Spider-Man breaking up an attempt of a payroll truck. However, bystanders are afraid because Jameson said that Spider-Man's the real enemy and blah, 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 that crap shit. Spider-Man's all crying about it. Daredevil really turns everybody on. Okay, Spider-Man, I don't want to get into Daredevil's personal lives. And Thor is so great. Everybody loves Ant-Man. He's the typical why me, shit that Peter Parker happens. Aunt May's sick again because Harry told him that your aunt's sick. He can't get a date with Gwen or Mary Jane because he has to do other shit, and his whole life's shit. Okay, let's just say that. Peter Parker's life, shit. And he goes home. He's home with Harry. He doesn't know what the hell he's going to do. He turns on the news, and Jonah's yelling at him like always. And so finally he said, fuck it, I'm done. So he takes the suit, and the iconic scene, he dumps it in the trash, walks his ass away and says, I'm Spider-Man, no more. Well, he doesn't actually say that, but I just love that quote from the movie. And he walks away.
And then we would go on to see that panel about 124 more times throughout the rest of Spider history.
I'll tell you about my best friend, or whatever the song that was
Miles
playing.
Morales has even done it.
Yeah. And then the next day after the test, Peter and his professors expressed concern for him and his grades, the kind of stuff like that. But he doesn't worry about it because, I'm no longer Spider-Man. I don't have to deal with the shit no more. And then, of course, we get scenes of the Kingpin. Who is he? Well, if you listen to the Ultimate cast that me and the other guys did, you know who he is. But
if you've seen the Spider-Man 90s cartoon, you know who he is.
If you've seen the Daredevil, you know who he is.
He's there with Foswell, and pretty much Foswell's like, yeah, I want to get back running my gang, so can I have my gang back? Kingpin's like, no. And he's like, I'll shoot you with the gun in my hat. Oh, you mean the thing I already sense with my super machine that can sense shit and laser beams? And then he kidnaps Foswell. Peter is driving home one night with his motorcycle. His life's really great. He got to flirt with Mary Jane, who's weirdly wants to go to the hospital because she must be sick or something because no man recognized her at first when she walked into the room or something like that. It was a weird panel. It was like, well, pinch my ears and call me Drathy. A living, breathing male walked in. I'm a has-been now. What? Whatever. Yeah, he leaves after all this stuff. He gets to ride on the motorcycle with Gwen. He's having the best time of his life. And then he realizes something's going on. He jumps in to save the guy. It's a security guard. Peter saves the guy from goons, like I said. And then the guy says, thank you, young man. And Peter says, I'm just doing the right thing. And then he realizes there's something familiar about the guy, and he's a splitting image of Uncle Ben. And then Peter remembers the shot, Uncle Ben being shot, great power comes great responsibility. And then we end the issue with the greatest thing ever. And they did this in the movie too, but I like it in the comic better. Jonah comes walking in. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the plot point where Jonah gets the suit, and that was, of course, in Spider-Man 2. and then he's on the news and he's bragging about it, and he has a suit on the case and everything. Peter comes in. Jonah walks in, and then he notices Peter sitting there right in the chair saying, "Hey, I was just out recruiting." Recruiting? You told me, yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of Spider-Men running around here. And then all of a sudden, Jonah's all freaking out. He goes, "Oh yeah, you should have washed my suit for me, Chuckles." And he swings away, ends issue.
All right, thoughts and grade, James?
I love it. It's my all-time favorite issue. This was even before I saw Spider-Man 2, people. This is my favorite. Wait, actually, no, wait, let me rephrase that. Spider-Man 2, because I actually read this first issue because of Spider-Man 2. And it's just like, I just like it how it shows like a superhero finally saying, fuck it, His life sucks, he's constantly fighting supervillains, he can't get the girl, his aunt's sick, everything's just been building up to this, and now he's finally like, fuck it, I'm done, I'm just gonna quit. Normal teenage life Peter Parker, I'll let every other goddamn superhero here deal with all New York's problems. I'm done, I'm out of here. And then at the ending, it's a reminder of Uncle Ben that, of course, snaps back in great power and responsibility. And it's just a really great issue. The only complaint I have for it is Kingpin. Because he's a mob boss here, but supposedly he has this high-tech super machine that can sense guns and laser beam them out of people's hands and all this weird shit. Like, I expected out of Dr. Doom, not the Kingpin.
That's 60s writing for you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm assuming your grade would be an A?
A+.
Ooh, A+. That's
my favorite issue. I got to give it an A+.
Yes, all right. Let's see. Who should we do next? Jacob, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 50?
I really enjoyed it. I give it like a A-. I mean, it's not bad at all. It's just like I 60s, man. There's some just cheesy stuff that is kind of weird nowadays,
All right.
I'm not knocking the writing or anything. It's just kind of dating itself.
All right. I guess is that all you have to say?
I mean, it's like one of the most iconic issues of all time, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay.
And,
okay.
I guess that's it.
Okay. I'll go next. My grade for this issue, I'd also give it an A. I give it a solid A. I'm right in between these two. Oh, that sounds bad. But I really, really liked a lot about this issue. First off, the lead up to Peter Parker quitting being Spider-Man was so well done. It was very, very emotional. I could immediately sense where Peter was coming from. I love the scene where he turns on the TV and it's J. Jonah Jameson just yapping away about Spider-Man. I really, really enjoyed that. The Kingpin's introduction in this issue, unlike James, I didn't really have a problem with the Kingpin. The Kingpin is actually one of my favorite villains from Spider-Man, from Spider history, and I really, really enjoyed him in this issue. I thought this was a great introduction for him, and ultimately I felt the story worked well. I felt it melded well together, Spider-Man quits, so it's time for a basic underworld invasion of the city. It's to me, it makes sense. The Peter Gwen moments in this issue, I really, really enjoyed. It was great to see them, interact and have, friendly little romantic moments, I guess you can call them. It's nice. The Uncle Ben reference with the security guard, I really enjoyed that. It was a great way for Peter to be reminded of why he needs to be Spider-Man, and ultimately I felt it worked really well. And like James, I love the final scene of this issue. I love the panel where Jonah walks in and Spider-Man has his feet up on his desk. I love that. That's hilarious to me. And it's just overall, this is a great issue. I also something I didn't even write down in my notes, but I really enjoyed Foswell's plot here. I like that he's sort of trying to go back to crime a bit, and it's kind of shaking things up, and really, I really did enjoy that a lot. Overall, I just felt this issue really worked really well. Of course, the art by John Romita Sr., absolutely fantastic. I love John Romita Sr. He's my favorite Spider artist. And overall, I don't really have a bad thing to say about this issue. So overall, I have to give it an A. So Jan, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 50?
Okay, I give it an A minus. I enjoy the whole Spider-Man No More arc. I think, how do I phrase this? I feel as though the reasons for him quitting it. I don't know. I think maybe that could have been done a little bit better. I feel as though doing it in like the first 4 pages was weird. I think it feels like doing a story like this could have been maybe planned out more. To compare, because Spider-Man 2 is kind of, in some ways a little bit of an adaptation to this in some ways. I think Spider-Man 2, like the reasons for him quitting, the build-up felt like it was a little bit handled better in that movie. But I think what inspires him to become Spider-Man again at the end, that whole scene and realizing, how it's his responsibility to help people and remembering Uncle Ben and that promise he made and all that stuff. I think that's, really, really well done. And I think, so I really enjoy Peter's character arc. The Kingpin kind of comes out of nowhere, but he's never been a villain that I thought was very interesting or memorable or anything. I mean, he probably works for Daredevil a little bit more. But I think, the way the story was told and seeing, how he's taking over the city and all of that stuff was well done. So I enjoyed it. I give it an A minus.
All right. Did I miss anybody for this issue?
Nah.
Okay, good. We got everybody. Amazing Spider-Man number 51. I think I'll break down this issue because, I can, because I feel like it. Basically this issue starts off, the Kingpin says, we need J. Jonah Jameson because he's trying to expose our underworld invasion. So the Kingpin says, find me J. Jonah Jameson, bring him to me, blah, 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 blah. Spider-Man is looking for information on this underworld invasion, and so he takes down a bunch of thugs. Meanwhile, Frederick Foswell decides to work for the Kingpin, and ultimately he decides, to cooperate with him because he realizes, 90-pound weakling versus a 350-pound fat man. Who do you really think is going to win that fight? Yeah, that sounded a lot funnier in my head, but oh well, whatever. This is also the first appearance of Robbie Robertson. He's not named in this issue, but we do see him in panel 4 on page 9. We finally get our first glimpse of Robbie Robertson, which is kind of cool. Peter, after telling Jonah where he could stick it in the last issue, comes back and basically says, I was just kidding, which is absolutely unbelievable, but whatever. Spider-Man goes around looking for more criminals and stuff. Jameson is brought to the Kingpin, and Spider-Man finds the Kingpin, evidently, and they fight. Kingpin manages to knock him out with gas from his tie pin. Yeah, his tie pin. It's weird. And the issue ends with Spider-Man defeated by the Kingpin. This issue, I'm just going to say it right now, is not nearly as good as the last issue, I didn't think. Is it great? I'd actually give it a B-. There was a lot of decent action in this issue, but overall, I didn't feel that ultimately it really amounted up to a strong enough story. I do grade this issue positively. I do give it a B-. That's a positive score for me. But really, it's just, I don't feel that after the awesomeness of the previous issue that this one really was a good follow-up to it. A lot of it was just Spider-Man taking down thugs or fighting people, and that's not always the most interesting issue for me. But that's not to say that the action wasn't good. The action in this issue was actually fairly good. It was fairly decent. The dialogue was, fairly good. It was decent enough for what it was. This was released in 1967. So obviously the dialogue's not going to be, that great compared to, well, I'd say sometimes the dialogue from the 60s is better than the dialogue today. But really it's not the best dialogue, but it's fine. The art during the fights is spectacular as usual. I really do enjoy how the book looks aesthetic-wise. Something I didn't mention in this issue was the Gwen, Harry, MJ moment. I really did enjoy that quite a bit. While it definitely does, it's kind of a change of pace in this issue, it's just a fun little scene that I really, really enjoyed. And you know what? It's great to see that they do kind of care about Peter and all of that. The real star of this issue in my eyes was J. Jonah Jameson. He had the best lines and the best moments from the issue. It's just, I would quote you some, but I don't feel I would do it justice. I really feel you'd have to just go back and read the issue yourself. But he just had some great moments in this issue. Again, the introduction of Robbie Robertson, even though he isn't named, is a really cool bit. It's a very fun little bit of Spider history trivia there, I guess you could say. And yeah, overall, I don't really have much else to say about this issue. I'd give it a B-, not nearly as good as the last issue, but not a bad issue. It's a fairly decent one. I'd recommend reading it, definitely. And overall, I think it's a decent issue. So James, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 51?
Good issue. I like it. It's not as good as the last issue, like you said, but it's still really good. James getting kidnapped and Spider-Man getting the crap picked on him is a really great cliffhanger. The end of this issue, the Aunt May, Mary Jane stuff is pretty. I mean, Aunt May, the Mary Jane and Gwen stuff with Harry is kind of like cute, I guess you can say, because they're all like flirting with each other, which is, I guess, 60s and weird and shit like that. But yeah, anyways, yeah, it's a good issue. I like the Kingpin saying, as far as they know, Spider-Man is gone and Jonah's catching in on him. So if there's any time that they're going to take over the whole world, it's now. And I like that. So yeah, I would give this issue a B+.
All right, Jan, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 51?
I'd probably give it a B. It's pretty good. It's not nearly as good as the first one, as you said. I think the funniest thing, the most memorable thing in this whole issue, is at the beginning, I guess the Kingpin built a model of New York just so he could smash it with his fist for dramatic impact. That made me laugh. It's like, okay, so like bring me a model of New York, and then I'm just gonna, just so I can smash it when I'm giving a speech to my thugs. I don't know, that just made me laugh. Kingpin is way overpowered for just a fat guy. Like, seriously, Spider-Man can pick up cars without even breaking a sweat. Like, why is he even kind of troubled by fighting the Kingpin? That's just ridiculous.
Dude, this is a world where Spider-Man can sling on webs and crawl on walls.
Yeah, exactly. So why is he being struggled with the Kingpin? That's just ridiculous to me. But
I was trying to make a point that nothing makes sense here.
Yeah, but I don't know. And within the rules of it, I think but that's a fair point. It just bothers me. I think it's ridiculous, but I think it's an okay issue, so I give it a B.
Okay, Jacob, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 51?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you guys. It's not like the best. It's good, but it's not as good as the last one. So yeah, I'm gonna give it like a B as well. But I really like John Romita's like action sequences. Those are like my favorite things he draws. It was just the action sequences, and there's a lot of them in this issue. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to our final classic issue of the day, which is or of the week rather. Amazing Spider-Man number 52, To Die a Hero. James, would you like the honor of breaking this issue down?
Sure.
All right, go for it.
Pretty much, Peter is unconscious, and him and Jonah are being carried down to be drowned to death. The water, they're put into this fully tight water chamber. The water's rising, and it's going to kill them all. And but Spider-Man manages to break them free and use his webbing to get them out safely, and all that kind of normal stuff. Spider-Man goes on the attack, fights the Kingpin, frees Jameson, and they try to find a way out of the Kingpin's base, but Jameson gets knocked unconscious. Spider-Man locates the Kingpin and Foswell. Meanwhile, Flash pretty much is back from the war, because this is Marvel, where it's like Flash can come back every 2 issues from the war, because that's how Vietnam worked. and while Spidey and Kingpin are battling, Foswell's trying to find Jameson, and the Kingpin manages to escape. He gets away, because he always gets away, and Foswell helps Jonah and Spider-Man escape, but then Foswell gets shot by one of the Kingpins too, and he dies, and Jonah says, he's the real hero here, and Spider-Man's fault, because Spider-Man was working with Kingpin, and it was all to kill Foswell, the real hero, and that ends the issue.
All right, thoughts and grade?
It's good. There's some really wonky things that like Flash can come back from the war anytime he feels like it, I guess. And but besides that, it's a pretty good issue. It doesn't really feel climactic at all, except for Foswell, where it felt like, okay, Kingpin got away, and then Foswell died, and of course, status quo, Jonah can't save, okay, Spider-Man saved my ass. He asked me to go, Foswell's the hero, and you were working with Kingpin. I'm going to say that in my story. Foswell was the one who saved me from everything, and you were working with him in classic Jonah, you know. And so if I had to issue a grade, I'd give it a B-.
All right, Jan, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 52?
I liked it a little bit more than the last issue. Still not quite as good as number 50, but what did I? I graded it in A-. I think I like Foswell's little arc that he has, where he kind of risks his life to save Jameson, and that he's not really a good guy or a bad guy. He's just kind of in the gray area. I think that's kind of interesting. Kingpin gets away, and as James kind of mentioned, that'll happen a lot, especially as we start moving forward. I think Jameson is kind of funny how we get to see, maybe know him a little bit more as a character here, and he's just such a weasel, but it's so funny. And I really like Spider-Man's eulogy almost at the very end, when he's just kind of like, who am I kidding? Jameson's a chronicle. He's he's always grumpy, and I'm always trying to help people, or I can't remember it, but it's something kind of like that. So that was kind of fun, and I thought it was a good closer to this 3-parter.
All right, what's your grade?
A-.
All right, Jacob, thoughts and grade on Amazing Spider-Man number 52?
I would also give it a B+. I mean, yeah, it's better than the last issue, but not quite as good as 50, like everybody's said apparently. Yeah, and again with the action sequence, and I also really like how Jameson, even though was clearly saved by Spider-Man, he was just like, oh, I can't blow my cover.
He's
Spider-Man's
blinded
still a menace.
He's blinded by it. Like, he's convinced because Foswell took the bullet. Okay, Foswell's the real hero here, and Spider-Man's the menace. Like, he is so blindly with this rage of Spider-Man, he can't connect the dots that Foswell was working with the Kingpin.
Yeah, and I also really do like Foswell's little thing here, and how he's like morally gray, like with Jan. Is that you said that right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. So B+. I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it.
All right. My thoughts and grade on this issue. I definitely put this issue. If I were to rank the 3 issues that we've talked about today, this one would probably be second in terms of the issues. I'd probably go 50, 52, 51. I give this issue a B+. Like Jacob, I enjoyed it. Not as much as 50, but definitely more than 51. I did enjoy this issue quite a bit. First off, the scene in the water chamber, I guess you could call it, was it was fairly cool. I actually kind of liked how Jameson was just freaking out the whole time, and Spider-Man is just like, "Would you shut your mouth? I'm trying to save your life here." And, I really enjoyed that. I always enjoy the banter between J. Jonah Jameson and Spider-Man. I think Stan Lee writes that really, really well, and it's very, very good. A little Spider history trivia here. This is the first named appearance of Robbie Robertson. Yes, Robbie just kind of shows up out of nowhere. Ned Leeds says, "First Foswell missing, and now the boss? I'll call Robertson. He's city editor. Maybe he can fill us in. The guy that's never appeared before, except in the last issue where he wasn't named. I'm just going to call that guy." Yeah, that was a little weird, but, whatever. I can live with that because I love Robbie as a character. I absolutely adored the fact that J. Jonah Jameson ran into a pipe and knocked himself out.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
That was priceless to me.
That is classic Jonah all the way.
I freaking love that. That was amazing. However, the one thing I didn't like about this issue, the scene at the Silver Spoon or the Coffee Bean or whatever it's called in this issue. Yeah, this whole scene right here was really out of place. I mean, I hate it when they do this, where it's like, oh, we're about to have a big dramatic fight. Oh, but let's check in on the supporting cast because, we just feel like doing that. Yeah, it's just, to me, it just feels out of place. It doesn't feel like it really adds anything. I felt it was an out of place scene for this issue. But like the other guys, I really, really enjoyed Foswell here. He does kind of have a little character arc of going, from villain to hero, which is, a satisfying thing. It's good to read, fun to read. I've always liked Foswell as a character, so it's sad for me to see him go. But ultimately, I felt he had a good death, and ultimately it was a fairly good send off for him. I don't really have anything else to say about this issue. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt it was a solid, good story. B+ out of me, and overall, I enjoyed this issue and I enjoyed this arc. So, yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for our classic issue reviews of the day, and that's also going to do it for this episode of the Amazing Spider-Man podcast. So, Jan, final words for the listeners before we sign off?
Have a good week, I guess. Keep reading Spider-Man. Yeah. All
right, Jacob, final words for the listeners before we sign off?
Go see 22 Jump Street because it was hilarious, and have a good day.
All right, James, final words for the listeners before we sign off?
Just a few small little words. First, Foswell's a hero, so let's all give a moment of silence for Foswell. Okay, thank you, that's done. And of course, this is a Monday recording, so if you're a wrestling fan, get ready for Raw tonight. We're building up to the pay-per-view Sunday. But if you don't gotta watch wrestling on Sunday, you can also watch AGR, and here's my cheap plug for the week. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. This actually gets kind of funnier every time he does it. I think he thinks that it pisses me off. I'm honestly entertained by it. But yeah, my final words for the listeners are, I apologize that I have not been as proactive or active on the website as I probably should have been these past couple of weeks. Been dealing with some personal life stuff. I got all that stuff to deal with. End of the school year, but now that it's summer, and yeah, I can really kind of focus on what makes me tick, like sleeping and eating and all that stuff. But yeah, I'll try to be a little bit more active on the website again. But overall, yeah, that's just thanks for listening, and yeah, this is the Amazing Spider-Man podcast signing off.